A bit all over the shop there. I was clicking on the wrong thing. I clicked the intro a bit late there as well. Um, yeah, not the greatest start. But good morning, Mr. LP. How are you?
Good morning. I am absolutely knackered. That's
Why are you
tired.
knackered?
That's UK slang for knackered.
Or why are you tired? Or shouldn't I ask?
Well, no, you can. It's nothing bad. Like so, I've been for the last few days, like 3 days back to back. We've been out like performing. Well, two of those days been back to back performances for the marching bands, like with because like I've said before, marching bands and funerals in Jamaica go hand in hand. So we've been doing that, and my God, it's a lot of work. It's like doing a triple session in the gym, literally.
Well, I'm sure
It's
the
been,
families are hugely appreciative of the efforts you and your band put in.
yes. And to show my dedication, I haven't been to the gym since Tuesday this week because I didn't want to go work out and then I'm not able to perform fully because, your arms are still lagging from the workout. So I haven't been to the gym. So now I've got a few days, no performances lined up until next Thursday. So literally, once we finish on the podcast, off to the gym, then get my hair done. Hence why I'm wearing the hat because it's a mess.
I saw it before we got online, and it was pretty bad. People, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, put it this way, he literally discriminated against me in the sense I had to put a hat on. So, it had to be censored. You had to
It is
censor
true.
the
It's
mess.
true. He was sat there wearing his vest with his hair everywhere. He looked stated. I
Yeah,
mean, one
a
of the commenters
mess.
said you look like a young Terence Trent D'Arby. Not this morning. You didn't. Dear Lord,
Thanks
anything
for
but
bringing that
Terence
one
Trent
up,
D'Arby.
Manny.
God, you'd be like the bad Terence Trent D'Arby variant from the
Yeah,
timeline where
literally.
Terence is just a it's just a
Where,
bum somewhere.
yeah, exactly. Where combs don't exist, there's no
Yeah,
hairdressers, and it's a continual cycle of pandemic lockdown for non-essential shops and
exactly,
facilities.
exactly.
Yes.
But anyway, talking about variants, what did you think of episode 5?
Episode 5 was just like all previous 4 episodes, it was just spot on and it just left so much to unpack. So many things they're trying to digest, like, what's going on. Like, it's like now, with everything, seeing what's happened now with Loki, literally, he was, or we thought he was dead because once you get zapped by the cow prod erase, the TVA prod, you're thinking that's the end of you. And we come to find out, well, no, it's not. It literally just sends you to somewhere that seems it's like a dump, a
Yep,
garbage dump where all waste gets thrown
yep.
and it's there until it gets
Go on.
disintegrated, cleansed, if that's a nice way of putting it. Because we saw that that living cloud entity, whatever that thing is, which
Eliath.
basically just which just erases everything it touches. So it's like the garbage dispenser.
Well, that's essentially what the void was, wasn't it? It's just a dumping ground for the TVA. So anything that gets pruned or any like timeline which they're pruning doesn't actually get destroyed because the way the universe works, it has to maintain a certain amount of matter. I'm not a physicist. I don't know what that means, but that's what they said. Um,
Yeah,
but
but it's
that's
interesting that they've never mentioned that to you beforehand because then it would put your mind at ease. Like if I was a
yeah.
variant and I knew that once I get pruned, I'm not actually dead. I'm just gonna get sent to like the garbage heap. Then I'd be like, okay, it's not so bad. But it literally you're made to believe that once you get pruned, literally that's it. You're erased from existence. Well, in
So
theory, that's what would happen. That would be the end result once, the garbage dispenser gets turned on and does what it does. But prior to that, you just thought that was the end of you once you get prodded. But
well, do you think maybe the TVA agent never actually knew you end up in this prune timeline, they thought, oh, they're dead.
Well, maybe not the. I think maybe not just the regular ones, but I'm pretty sure that Renslayer knew what was going on.
Oh, do you
In the
think?
sense, yeah, because
She seems to
think
be in the
about it.
dark to me
I
as
don't
much as
think so
anybody.
because I mean, as you look at one point in the episode, you kind of felt like, oh, maybe she's just being fooled or whatever. But by her then literally trying to betray Sylvie when they literally like had a little deal, kind of truce, then it just goes to show that, well, you can't really take everything that she says. She's just like a typical
Yep.
corporate management or middle management where she'll tell you one thing to your face and then within the blink of an eye, she'll just change the whole narrative.
Yeah. Did you like the way Miss Minutes was working with Renslayer to stall time?
Exactly. I told you, you can't trust them little clocks. Any clocks that you see wearing Converse, you can't trust them because look at that. How did she even know
Is
to
it,
be
is
deceitful?
it specifically just clocks wearing Converse?
Yeah, I think if it was those Skechers, then she'd be a bit more trustworthy. But Converse, it's just like con. I think it's all in the name. Con.
Oh, so you're telling me
He's the
not
con
to.
artist of the universe.
So
Converse.
you're telling me not to go and like desecrate Big Ben. It's not all clocks. It's just clocks wearing.
Well, if majority of the visitors in Big Ben or the employees in Big Ben wear Converse, then I'll say down with it. But if not, then
Well, maybe that's why there's a dress code in the House of Commons for that specific reason.
exactly. Yeah, they knew what was coming all along. They knew it was like the Simpsons, where they knew these things was coming along. So they knew we're going to be a clock that was going to get bad, that was going to bring bad reputation to clocks all over the universe. So they were like, let's have a dress code so we just differentiate ourselves from that. Should anything happen.
This episode is brought to you by Skechers.
Exactly.
Thank you, Bav. So yeah, it's an interesting point. It's an interesting point. One of the things I especially enjoyed in this episode was Gator Loki. Gator Loki was awesome. My dream is to, in the future, see a team up between Gator Loki and Rocket Raccoon.
Oh, that would be cool.
I just loved the bit when boastful Loki was talking about
and Groot.
Yeah, and Groot, absolutely.
The conversation between all of them.
Listen. We need Howard the Duck in that group. We need Spider Ham in that group. We just need like this group of like
misfits.
Yeah, he's like a morph of the animal type Avengers, or just all plant like in Groot's case. Avengers. No, that'll be amazing. What was I saying? But I loved it when boastful Loki was talking all that stuff about how he done this and he done that in his timeline, and they cut to Gator Loki and just like giving him the eye and just like growling and like, yeah, you're talking rubbish.
Which it confirmed that it was talking rubbish.
Yeah.
Which then confirmed that he didn't really kill Thor, as he said.
No. Child Thor killed. Child Loki killed Thor.
Oh, Child Loki killed Thor.
Yeah.
But I don't know if am I jumping ahead if I bring this that I saw in it when when they were going. Was it when they were going down in that little underground sewer that looks like it's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle lair? Did you see?
What my brother's favorite, the thing my brother has been asking for this entire season? Yes, I saw Frog.
In the jar.
In the jar, yes, Frog. I saw little Frog in there. Oh, and Frog could be part of this team as well with Gator Loki and Rocket and everything. But if you notice as well, the jar said, I think it said T365, and I'm pretty sure that's the issue of 4 which Frog debuted in.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean that was just a wonderful Easter egg, which makes me wonder as well. Like, it's not that important, but surely like he should have the power to call Monia towards him and just smash the jar.
Unless maybe that's one of those things where maybe that's a particular thing that seals magic, that magic can't get through. Because we've seen so far, there's all kinds of devices that's now available
Yeah.
in the TVA that can do all sorts of things. So
Or
who's to
maybe
say that that wasn't something that was specifically made to trap and actually cancel out magic, so you can't do anything once you're inside unless it's been opened by someone.
absolutely. And maybe as well, maybe that hammer, because it's so big, actually wasn't made for that version of Thor. So maybe the enchantment doesn't work, doesn't like cross time streams to other
I
Thors.
don't know, because remember, Odin did say whoever is
He's
deemed
worthy.
worthy.
It's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. Whoever's
So I'm
worthy.
pretty sure it could actually, maybe the hammer is so powerful and magical that it could actually adjust
I don't know.
to
Maybe
a person's body size. So if you're a giant, it would become a giant hammer. If you're like a midget, then yeah, it will be according as well.
maybe Frog abandoned one too many tadpoles and is now no longer not worthy.
Running around just overpopulating the place and not being a good father.
Overpopulating the ponds.
Yeah.
The ponds of Asgard. Just overflowing with frogs. Frogs everywhere. Which he's not going to take responsibility for.
None whatsoever. Living off his royalty. Yes, I'm a king. Let's get
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
But it's been just it's
been a wild ride.
Yeah, but again, the thing I want to go back on is like Miss Minute. How was she able to be deceitful without Renslayer saying something, unless maybe something like this has happened before?
So I think she's more than just an AI, isn't she?
Yeah. I think maybe something like that has happened before. So where they know if someone was to come and ask for those particular files, they'll know, okay, yes, we can't let them know. So we'll just stall them until backup comes along.
Oh, it's like a rosebud, kind of like code word kind of thing.
Yeah, because think about it. The fact that even with Mobius, that he wasn't aware that he's been in the office with Renslayer so many times where he had the cups, he had left all those stain marks over there. Maybe in one of those instances when he's been in there, he's actually gotten that far, where he's uncovered stuff and he's tried to ask certain questions, and then whatever has happened. So therefore they have that kind of protocol in place where should anyone ask for certain files, you just know, okay, yeah, that's forbidden. If they ask for this, instantly we need to get the guards in and prune them, literally, which is what they were going to do to Sylvie.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Going back to Gator Loki, I loved the bit where it just jumped on President Loki's hand and just bit his hand off, and President Loki just lets off this extenuated scream. It was glorious.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And
that was just crazy when all those Lokis just appeared. Yeah. What is it with Loki? Why Loki? Because it seems to be throughout all the different timelines, the one key factor in everything, or should I say the main target in every one of those timelines seems to be Loki.
Yeah, so I think there is something very special about Loki, and so let's just quickly talk about what happened at the end of the episode. Sylvie and Loki agree that they have to get past Goliath, this giant kind of cloud monster, which reminded me a bit of the monster from Lost. Anyway, they decide Sylvie realizes that they have to enchant it to get beyond it, and the answers they seek are beyond Goliath. And Richard E. Grant, what an absolutely wonderful way. Well, or is he dead? But what an absolutely wonderful way for Richard E. Grant to go out to build a.
If he's gone out.
If he's dead.
Let's face it, Loki. As much as Loki will, in the end, will always try and do the right thing. He still always has like an ace up his sleeve where he'll do it, but he's not going to do it at the expense of his own life.
100%. But we'll get onto that. We'll get onto that as to the theories behind that. But he creates this beautiful kind of projection of Asgard to distract Goliath, and he even says it himself. He screams out, "Glorious purpose."
Yeah, that was unreal. Like, I mean, not to cut you there, Manny, but I think what it shows with different Loki's variants that we've seen so far is the actual overall potential what Loki has if he was to actually like fully grasp his powers. It seems
It's a
like
really good
Loki
point.
he's not. If you look at it, for everything he's done, Loki hasn't really had anyone to teach him how to actually use his powers to know what his limits are from what
Well,
his limits
Loki did say
isn't.
Frigga taught him how to do magic.
Yeah, but I think in most cases,
I take your
especially with
point. I don't think
Loki,
anybody's taught him how to reach his full potential. I think is the point.
right. I think because they've been unsure of Loki, because Loki is a bit of a wild card.
Yeah.
I think maybe whoever has taught him in the past, they've never really taught him fully what he's capable of because of the danger of what he's actually really
what he's capable of, which actually is a really good point, which links on to episode 6 potentially, and why we're in this situation as it is right now. But I think you make a good point, because Loki didn't even know he had the powers of enchantment himself.
That's what I'm saying, because he's never had anyone to really. So it seems like maybe throughout different time stream, different Lokis have had teachers who's taught them different aspects of their powers, but not their complete overall capabilities.
They've been suppressed to a certain degree.
Yeah, but if you look at it, because Loki, Avengers Loki, that's what I'll call him to make it easier to remember. Avengers Loki didn't even know he was able to create that kind of projection to the level of what Richard E. Grant Loki did.
Yeah.
Because that literally looked almost like it was an entire city.
Yeah,
he created literally. He
down
literally
to
created an
down to the statues.
City.
Down to the statues.
It was like unreal.
He created the entire city. And again, I think that was us seeing Loki nearing his full potential now. I think we have to talk about the story which he tells the other Lokis about how he survived being killed by Thanos. He talks about him disguising himself as a piece of debris to get away from Thanos. So Thanos thinks he's killed Loki, but he's actually turned himself into a bit of debris. Now,
but remember, he also said that he created the best. He said he created the best illusion, something like that.
Yeah. So
it even fooled Thanos. That's how.
Yeah. He made himself into a piece of debris. Yeah, that's how good he was. Now this is quite interesting. So, do you know the YouTube channel New Rockstars?
No.
Okay, so no, I've actually sent you through their videos. I sent you the Black Panther one day done.
Oh, yeah. I'll subscribe to it.
So when Endgame came out, they done a theory video about how, just after Endgame was released, they done a theory video about how when Thanos kills Loki in Endgame, is it Endgame he kills him, or is it Infinity War? Which one is it? It's Infinity War. It's Infinity War. He calls him in Infinity War, doesn't he?
Yeah, Infinity War is the first one.
Right. Yeah, he calls him in Infinity War. When he kills him, you can see outside the ship like a meteor, like a bit of debris, meteor with like what looks like two horns sticking out of it. And they were like theorizing that, oh, maybe that was like Loki actually turning himself into a bit of debris. And as you can imagine, they were absolutely ridiculed on the internet, going, "Oh, that's an awful theory. Loki turning himself into a bit of debris, and him that's an awful theory." But now we've got to ask ourselves the question: did Marvel actually watch their theory video and like take that idea and put it onto classic Loki, or is our Loki actually still alive potentially as well, pretending to be a piece of debris in the current timeline? Could our Loki actually still turn up at any point in this series if he is still alive?
Yeah,
The
or
one which
maybe
we
like,
thought,
remember we also said before, maybe a Loki is probably the real bad guy overall. There's
yeah,
no actual Loki that's just a complete narcissist. So the only way to beat Loki is Loki.
yeah, and absolutely. Remember, Loki is a survivor as well.
Yep.
So in Infinity War, maybe he was looking at Thanos going, this guy, it's too much heat for me. I just need to fake my death and get out of it. Because
Sure.
I'm a survivor. I do not want to be facing off against this guy. The only thing that makes me think that Loki definitely did die in Infinity War is that when they play Loki's life to him in the TVA, his file does say that he dies. And I'd like to think the
Yeah.
TVA would know.
Yeah, true. But at the same time, what have we seen from the TVA? The TVA lies. They lie and they distort the truth
True,
and
true,
reality.
true.
So therefore, if they need you to be, to do a purpose, for a particular purpose, they can actually give you enough information what they want you to see to get you to do what they want. Because who's making the movie? If I'm making a movie, just like if you're sending me a video, you can edit how you want the video to be sent to me. And as far as I know, because I'm getting it from you, I'm thinking that's the entirety of the video. Whereas
Yeah,
you could have held back half of that video or removed certain parts of that video, edited the video to how you saw fit for your purpose to get the reaction that you needed to get out of me or whatever. Because the
yeah,
fact is, when you even ask them, well, why can't they show what's at the end of time, how it all ends? And all you could get from Renslayer, oh, well, they're still untangling it and blah, blah, blah. Well, no, you wouldn't be. If you know everything, if you're the all seeing,
possibly, possibly.
that's what I'm saying. You never
Could the
know
Avengers
because the
Loki be the final
Loki,
boss
yeah,
of the
because,
TVA? Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I don't think anything the TVA says we can just take and say, okay, yeah, they're telling the truth because they've lied. And the fact that even Miss Minute knows how to lie and deceive and stall someone, then it just makes you think that everyone in the TVA who may look simple may not be as simple as they look.
listen, we can't trust anything the TVA say. And I think what potentially we're alluding to here is the same way Nick Fury done the trick with Coulson with the blood on the baseball cards or the Captain
Yeah,
America cards. Sorry,
yeah.
maybe the TVA felt as though, well, we have to convince Loki, not even like Mobius, but like whoever the endgame person is, we have to convince this Loki that he died. But then that doesn't make sense either, in all honesty, because it was Mobius. Because it is Mobius who wanted Loki to help them track down Sylvie. So maybe it does make sense. Oh, this is confusing.
Well, not really, because think about it, Manny.
Help.
Um, the fact that Mobius has no knowledge of him going inside Renslayer's office and leaving all those stain marks on that coffee table, I think that's a pivotal point in the sense that have they been erasing his memory? And if they've erased his memory and he can't remember that, they could also plant things in his mind, as in plant the idea of it's his idea that he wants to work with Loki when really and truly they're the ones who really wanted that. Because if Loki was such a bad variant that they didn't want anything, he's below Renslayer. So therefore, they would have been like, no, we don't need him. And they wouldn't need to listen to anything he says, especially now, even after when they realized where um, Sylvie was hiding, in the fact that she was hiding in apocalypse worlds, literally worlds that's about to
And
die.
yeah,
They knew exactly where to then look because they had all the timeline of when all these different worlds were going to be ending. And surely they've got enough agents where they could actually send them to go, okay, this one's going to end there, so we can go there. So you could literally narrow it down to actually track Sylvie. But the fact that they still even kept him alive even then, even when he and Sylvie was on that world where it was going to literally it was like seconds away from being destroyed
yeah,
and they came and rescued them. because they were creating a new timeline. It seems that there's something else going on that they don't want, but they can't kill them. But we can't tell them that we can't kill them, just like they did where they made us believe that once you get pruned, that was the end of you. And now we come to find out that, well, it's not the end of you. When you get pruned, you actually go to like a disposable, a garbage heap. So you're not exactly, and they never mentioned that, whereas they could have mentioned that from the get-go, but they didn't. So I don't think anything they're saying we should just take at face value. Well, we haven't been anyway, but I think even more so now we can't take anything, because if there was really someone else behind it, you're telling me that Renslayer wouldn't want to work with them, seeing as though they all have the same purpose to try and find out what's going on.
We don't know what Renslayer's final game is. Is she aware of the bigger picture, or isn't she aware of the bigger picture? I think once we find that out, a lot of the other things will start to make a bit more sense, hopefully. But
I think Renslayer is involved with it, man. That's the cold hard truth. Because even after when she found out that it's
now, remember, we've had discussion before. There's a difference between truth and opinions.
True, but I mean, when she saw that it was AI, those timekeepers were AI. They weren't even real. She's still in prison. What's her name? The TVA agent.
B15.
B15. She still had her in prison, and basically when she went in there, she was like, you're going to be punished. And she's like, well, you know that they were not real. You saw the same thing what I saw. But she still was going on. Rather than say, okay, let's work together, she's going to, like, despite all of them that couldn't do it together, she believes that she can go solo and solve this mystery by herself. Now,
maybe.
I thought normally Loki's the one who's supposed to be a bit cocky and arrogant, and she's supposed to be someone in charge where you think she'd use all her resources, but instead she's locking up those who know the truth, kill the ones who also know the truth, like the other agent, the first one who basically was, who she lied saying who died.
C20.
Yeah, C20. So you can't trust, I don't think Renslayer is as innocent as...
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm fully on board on Renslayer being in on it, because Renslayer is Kang's... That is if Kang is the big baddie. Ooh. Because Renslayer is Kang's love interest in the comics, and we've said from the start, it's weird that they'll pick Renslayer as one of the main judges in the show when there's actually there's a dozen TVA judges they could have used to fulfill that role. But yeah, I think there's two types of people in the world, if she didn't know. You know how sometimes you get people, and some people have a belief, but they're perfectly willing to let go of that belief once they're presented with evidence which discredits that belief. Then you get other types of people who are so emotionally invested into their belief system that even when they're shown evidence that discredits what they believe, because they're so emotionally invested, they still fight to keep that previous belief alive because they got so much invested in their previous belief. And I wonder if Renslayer falls into that category where she knows the truth is falling apart around her, but everything she is actually dependent on this lie, which the TVA is putting forward. She's a nobody.
I can understand Mobius not being able. Yeah, but I can understand Mobius not having met the timekeepers, but Renslayer, who basically is a bridge between the timekeepers and them. You're telling me that but you're telling me she's never actually met the timekeepers until that moment.
It looks like she's been talking to the timekeepers all along. In episode 4, we saw her coming out of that room. So I don't know whether was it really the timekeeper she was talking with, or was it whoever that she's with? Or was it the big bad? We don't know. We don't know. Like, is she stupid enough to believe that those 3 weren't actually humans, but they were actually? She actually believed they were timekeepers.
I mean,
Thank you,
come on,
Mr.
Manipy.
Thank you, Mr. Cato.
Yeah, but think about it. The most obvious thing would have been, how long have they been there? They've been there for hundreds of years. And you're telling me in all that time where your office is just behind theirs, there's no cafeteria inside there where the timekeepers are. You're telling me you've never been suspicious that they've never asked for lunch or
Listen.
dinner or
This is my point.
breakfast?
This is my point. Some people are so invested in a belief system that they will actively choose not to look at the evidence that's in front of them. You know, people like this. We've had conversations about people like this.
Yeah, sure. But they're still gonna eat at some point. They're gonna get like a snack or something. You know?
That's the point. That's the point. Some people have a belief, and like imagine like believing sudden, like imagine finding out that suddenly, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to be too profound, but imagine like suddenly there's definitive proof that there's no such thing as the afterlife. Imagine like that's proven in science beyond a doubt. By the way, I believe in some kind of an afterlife, so don't come after me. But imagine that's proven beyond a doubt. There's still going to be people who are so invested in that belief who are still going to believe in that because
True.
because they're so invested in that. They're going to deny what's in front of them just to make themselves be happy. Some people are happier living a lie than living with the truth that hurts them.
Yeah, because the reality obviously would mean that their whole existence, everything that they believed in, has all been false narrative, and that reality is too much for some people to bear. Which is why, you know, in a lot of cases, you have where, you know, certain information is kept from people, like in our day-to-day world, because the reality of what's actually the truth is too much for people to actually digest. So it would be, you know, cause mass hysteria and all sorts would go on.
Yeah. So again, like
I can get that.
I'm perfectly down for Renslayer being part of, you know, being in cahoots with the bigger bad. But I could also see it from the other direction where she is oblivious as well. But sorry, exactly like people who believe Donald Trump actually won the election. Like these idiots have no evidence to back up this claim, but yet they still put forward this notion because they're so invested in this weird belief structure they have. Thank you, Mr. Ko. Yeah, it could be a similar thing. So I can see it from both angles. I mean, they've written it storyline wise, which both outcomes are believable.
Yeah. No, I get that. It's tricky, but I just think that I don't, for some reason, I don't think Renslayer doesn't look like the type that's just by the book and just a sheep. I think Renslayer is more capable than she's trying to make her as if she didn't know, you know, as if she's blinded. I think either she knew what was going on, but she still just felt like, well, you know what, this is for the best, you know, this is the best option. Or she's just really that narrow-minded where she just didn't have a clue what was going on.
She didn't have a clue. And it makes her look bad suddenly if it turns out actually she had the wool pulled over. Imagine being like the strong character in the group in your company, and suddenly even you look like an idiot. Like that's hard to take sometimes.
But I mean, who would have put Renslayer in charge? That's those questions that you would ask. If someone else had put her in charge, then you'd think, well, before her, normally, like for instance, if you're going in, if you're a manager in a company, Manipy, just like, you know, like the example they use just now with
I have zero leadership
Trump.
skills.
No, as in I'm saying with Trump being the president, right? When Trump was the president, before Trump was the president, when Obama was the president, you know, and when Obama was coming out of office and Trump was transitioning into the office, there would have been a debrief of sort where Obama would brief him, okay, this is X, Y, Z, and tell him. But
there was,
had that information. So
apparently Trump ignored it.
But right. So surely there must have been something like that with whoever, if there was someone above Renslayer before she got that position. So either they were all just sheeps where they never, because you would have asked like, oh, so if this happens, how do I speak? What do I do? who do I speak to? Do I speak to the timekeeper? And he said, oh, I don't know. I've never spoken to the timekeeper. Surely you would have had a conversation. We'd have thought like, well, okay, well, they've never spoken to the time.
Yeah.
So you would have had some kind of alarm bells. Surely, if you're, unless you're just by the book where you're just like, okay, well, since you say that's the procedure, I'll just stick to that. I won't ask any questions. You know, I'm just literally just tunnel vision.
We've got to remember is me and you are both, me more than you, are both rational people. So these are the things which we'll naturally think.
You more than me, I beg your pardon, sir. I am very rational.
Yes, me more than you.
And extremely irrational.
This is true. So like you've got to like, yeah, so like we're kind of like looking at it through our sensible eyes. You've got to kind of, and we know everybody we come across in life isn't sensible.
Yeah, true. But these are people that's responsible for the timelines for all existence. So you should have common sense more than the common sense. If there's only 5 senses, you should have at least 5,005 senses.
Listen. You'd like to think so, but look at some of the people who are in control of the world at the moment. Are these sensible people? No, but they're still in position.
That's true. That's so true. I mean, it's gonna be it's interesting to see what's
anyway. I can't believe Loki has actually made us have a political chat. This is quite amazing.
Well, yeah, because that's the interesting thing with it, isn't it? I mean, I think it just goes back to, I think it all fits nicely into some of Marvel's messages and agendas from back in the day, where like you said, like even the X-Men was about what? The struggles of minority, people in general. So I think this is, it's always had a message where it's, even though it's for kids, but also for
there's always been an allegory.
Look at the message behind what we're seeing in front of us.
Katie Loki for president. I've got to say, I'm with you. I mean, he definitely would have done a better job than the previous one. But yeah. So just getting back onto things. So yeah, getting back to the classic Loki point I was making with Richard E. Grant. I think we do have to consider, and I think you're with me on this, that maybe Richard E. Grant Loki, classic Loki, maybe might have faked his death a second time.
Yeah, I think so. And one thing I think so, because reason being, he didn't have his purse, his man purse. You notice he didn't have it when he was out there.
It all revolves around the man bag.
Yeah, if you're going out with your full gear. I know if I'm going out, I'm bringing everything. I'm traveling. Like when I'm traveling, I've got there you go. He didn't have it with him. Look at that, the little strap, as well as the one on the shoulder right there. If you're going out, you're going out with dignity, with your bag on your shoulder, fighting to the end.
You might be onto something. Maybe that bag has a lot more relevance than any of us have leaned into. Maybe that's like a part of the projection which you can't recreate for some reason. But again,
maybe there's something, but that underground layer that they're in, that they had, has now been overtaken. So unless all those variants are gone, it was crazy inside there. Unless all those variants are gone, where they could actually go back, but then they're not going to go back because they're literally now just heading inside that.
No, but do you know something? There's going to be a Loki season 2, so I'm hoping we meet a lot more of these Lokis in season 2.
There's going to be they've confirmed the season 2.
Yeah, Loki's the only one which they've confirmed for season 2 already. So there are stories to be told moving forward. So hopefully we're going to see these Lokis again. I really want to see Gator Loki and Child Loki. Richard E. Grant is great. Love to see him again in this season or next season. There's even been suggestions as well online that when Sylvie and our Loki approach the castle, there's a piece of debris floating in the background behind the castle. So people were already, it's a bit far-fetched for me, but people were already speculating that could be Richard E. Grant Loki as a bit of debris in the background behind the castle.
Yeah. You never know.
listen. If that happens, the writers for this show, like, they deserve awards and stuff.
Think about it. Could you imagine though, at the start of season 2, you see him transform from the debris, and you see it's actually him.
Yeah.
With the man purse, everything, full gear. He means business, and you see he goes in his purse like, yes, it's time.
Or even I want to see, like, he's got a new man purse and it's actually made out of alligator.
No, he can't do that.
I mean, it would be mean. I wouldn't want to see it happen, but I mean, it would show how badass he is to a certain degree as well.
That he killed Gator Loki for no reason. Just
to
because I want to
create a fashion accessory.
Screw you, Petter. It's all about my bag.
He would have like the coolest like accessories, like he'd be like the coolest looking. He's already got like a very dated retro look. Yeah, so maybe he just wants to finish off that kind of hipster Loki vibe and just have, like a alligator man bag as well, to just go with it.
It's so wrong, but it's so cool at the same time, that look. But no, that it just shows you how ridiculous
and Child Loki's
that
like
fashion is.
And Child Loki's like, I'm gonna get you. You killed my friend. You killed Gator Loki.
Well, yeah, and Child Loki is a badass, because if
he
really killed Thor, then it means that he.
Because I liked it as well I liked it at the start of the episode where our Loki assumed Richard E. Grant Loki was in charge because of the size of his horns.
Yeah.
Which I thought was quite cool. He's kind of like in the animal world where, like, the animal with like the biggest feathers, the biggest like outward display is normally the alpha male. That's exactly what Loki assumed as well. I thought that was quite cool. But let's move on to the big
Loki that's in charge, isn't it?
Yeah. He was very much Kid Loki, like
with his sword, knife, dagger thing. It just looked so simple at first until he gave it to Avenger Loki, and then you see it's a flaming sword and all sorts. So again, what potential is there with that weapon?
Interestingly, that sword as well also somewhat, it felt like to me, inhibited Loki's powers as well, which is why he had to lose it to start the enchanting.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to check up on that again. I might have misconstrued that part, but I need to watch it a second time. But okay, we got to get onto the big question. Who's in the castle now? That was going to be the main meat and potatoes of this stream. However, before we got on, my brother, who's currently grocery shopping for my niece and nephew, got to keep them well fed, left this up here. So episode 6 promo has come out and he confirms who the bad guy is. Before we got online, me and Davie did actually watch this promo. I'm trying to work out whether it's actually an official promo or not. I don't know if somebody in the comments can let us know as well. But essentially, if it is an official trailer, it confirms that Kang is the main bad guy for episode 6, but I'm still not 100% sure that's an official video.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those, like fan base just to feed into that whole narrative of what everyone is expecting, which might not actually be what we're expecting. Like I said, I don't know. It could possibly be a Loki that's the bad guy, because
so let's go through them one by one. Let's go through each of the theories of who it could be one by one. And again, I literally only got this message 5 minutes before we went online. Otherwise, I didn't have enough of a chance to research it. Davie very rarely researches stuff. I'm joking. I'm joking. But yeah, so I couldn't get to the gist of whether that was an official video or not. But the video basically shows Loki, basically shows Kang, and it shows that Kang's face was one of the timekeepers in Renslayer's office, which was something we mentioned in a previous stream. So that all makes sense. Now, there's a few things in this episode which points towards Kang as well being the main bad guy. Should I list them?
Go ahead. I'm all ears.
Okay, so we've already established that Renslayer in the comics is Kang's love interest. In this episode as well, you see Eliath. Eliath often features, not often because Eliath doesn't feature that often, but Eliath, when he has featured in Kang stories. There was two more things.
What exactly is Eliath? What is it exactly?
It is a big cloud-eating monster. Essentially, that's kind of all it is. The side of the Avengers Tower, which you see there, has got Queng on the side of it. Queng, which is what Kang calls that tower when he takes it over in the comics.
Oh.
And yeah, there was one more thing, but it's actually totally slipped my mind what the other thing was, alluding to Kang being the main bad guy. But yeah, essentially, it does seem to be pointing towards Kang as the main bad guy.
Yeah, the reason why I'm having a hard time believing that is unless...
Sorry. So Dowdy just said, why would Marvel put the big bad in the promo trailer? I think it's a fan video, even though I've not seen the promo. I think it's a fan video as well.
That's what I said. That's what I said as well, Dowdy, because I'm like, Marvel never does that. Marvel's always so tight-lipped with everything that they're doing. You don't know anything. They're not going to start slipping up now, so especially when it's the penultimate episode literally coming up. They're not going to just give it away type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. My mind's all over the place with it. I still feel maybe it's a Loki.
Cool. So just before we go into Loki, just one more. I've just checked my notes. The other hint that it might be Kang is that we see a Sphinx in this episode as well. We see Mobius and Sylvie driving past the Sphinx.
Yeah.
In the comics, Kang uses the Sphinx as a spaceship. So again, it just feels like you're dropping a lot of hints here that it's Kang.
Yeah, you know what you say. You're onto something in terms of like with the Sphinx, like also the fact that remember when Renslayer and Miss Minute was talking, they're saying, "Oh, there's a ship that can actually travel through." What if that wasn't entirely a lie?
What if that's actually Kang's ship? Because Kang is from the future.
What if there is a ship that can actually travel through and go literally beyond?
Yeah.
Beyond all of that to get you to the end of time. I mean, I don't. It's part of me believed that it might be a Loki that's actually the bad guy. And it's strange me saying this, but I did say this to you yesterday when I sent you a message, didn't I? Where I said part of me believed maybe Sylvie's in on it.
Yes.
Because I'm saying the reason why I found it very strange, I mean, why I feel like Sylvie may be in on it is the fact that they've gone through so much together already, which shows that he trusts her, because the fact that when they were on, what was the name of that planet that was going to be destroyed when they got
Lamentis 1.
Yeah, Lamentis 1. When they were on there, it showed at that point when he was most vulnerable, he showed that he was genuine, that he wasn't going to abandon, he was willing to die with Sylvie. So therefore, if someone's willing to die with you, you shouldn't even question their trustworthiness.
Yeah.
They're going to betray you. So for her to be asking, you won't betray me, right? It was in this episode she was asking that, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I personally think she's saying that because it's a Loki, and that's what Lokis do. They betray each other.
Well, the reason why I don't think that's the reason why she's asking that. She had that much trust in this particular role that she's proven herself. So therefore, she must have had some level of trust in him, unless she may be in on it and she needs his complete submission, as in where he's completely into her, trust her, so then he's able to be manipulated. Maybe there's a Loki who needs this particular Loki's body to take over. Who knows?
Yeah,
I
maybe,
don't
maybe.
know.
I think it's definitely a potential outcome. Kang could potentially be an unseen character. He's more of a theme right now than a person. Absolutely, like he could be the big bad, and we don't even see him. Potentially.
Yeah, but he's not. I mean, let's say as much as he's that, he's not exactly a Thanos or any on that level.
I think.
In
Oh
this,
God, popped into
in
my
the
head.
sense that he could get his butt handed to him at any point. And if the TV has been around for since the creation of the single time stream, unless he was in the future and he then traveled before the time stream was invented and took over and then went back to the future, set all those things in motion, then it's quite impossible for him to do that. But then also at the same time, the timekeepers supposedly they see everything and know everything. So surely they would have known what Kang's journey would have been like to know, oh, he's in the future. This guy's going to travel from the future to come back to us before we set the single time stream, and he's going to take over our place. So they would have made preparations for that. So
Or they
how?
could, or what could have happened was Kang created a variant type, created a new timeline. The TVA have then taken him into custody, and Kang, just being a badass, has actually taken over the TVA from the inside.
Maybe.
I think if it is Kang, he's got a beef with Loki's, and Loki's do him some kind of harm. There's some kind of a threat to him, and he wants to potentially wipe out not wipe out, but basically make sure there's no Lokis in any timelines that can
Yeah,
deal with
you
him.
know
Like
what?
Loki's might be his
You've got
Achilles
a
heel.
you've got a point there. Maybe it's something to do with, maybe it's even something less sinister than that. Maybe it's the fact that you remember was it in the first episode when we saw that Loki, when he made a bet with Thor, he went back in time into the 60s. Maybe it could have been something like that, where Loki, as a joke, went and done something that affected Kang. Didn't think twice about it because he's Loki and he's just having fun. Kang probably when he became of age and when Avengers Loki came to Earth and he saw what Avengers Loki was capable of, because he then started doing research, maybe realized like, hang on, this was the same guy who probably did that back then. He probably went to the TVA, like you said, got Loki's file, was able to see that it was Loki who did all those things, because he was able to get access to those same file that Mobius got. So it's all like, this was the same guy who went back, and if he did that as a bet, then he was probably the one who did all that. Maybe there was more to the file that we didn't see, and he probably saw one of the incidents that may have had an effect on him. So therefore, his mission, like he says, is now he's so traumatized or so enraged by that his mission is to literally destroy all Lokis from every single timeline. Because you think about it, it's not anyone else they're going after. It's just Loki.
Yeah, and there's been a very prominent message towards Loki that you always have to fail. You always have to fail, Mr. Loki. You're never going to succeed. I do wonder if that's just kind of like forcing that destiny upon Loki, because maybe this Loki's can succeed, and maybe Loki's are the ones who can ultimately defeat Kang. I think
Or
there is
maybe
a
Loki
feeling.
was his teacher.
There
And
is a
Loki was hard
maybe
on
there's
him in class, and he's like, "Yeah, you'll never amount to anything." And now his mission now is like, "Yeah, teacher, I'll get you back."
yeah, and maybe Loki's are maybe Loki's are the one thing that can defeat Kang. There's a lot of rumors on the internet regarding Kang actually being the big bad in this phase of Marvel, which is possible. But let's move on to the second theory. That is actually another Loki in the castle, which is a theory which I'm down for as well. I'm down for it being a prime Loki. I'm down for it actually being Richard E. Grant just turns up in the castle somehow, or maybe even the Loki which we saw die in Infinity War.
Yeah. No, because I think that one was more. He was by that point he had become kind of good in the sense, like
I hope so. I hope so. But which one do you think's more likely, Kang or another Loki?
I think more likely it's another Loki, and I think Sylvie's in on it.
Okay, that's interesting. In the comments as well, what do you think? Who do you think's in the castle? I think it's Kang, and I'm going for my second favorite, Loki. Okay, I am going to let me just go through my notes. I've got a list of people I think it could be.
This minute.
You never know. It could be okay. So these are like my far out bets, like 20-1. He Who Remains. Now he's a character from the comics who's basically above the Timekeepers. Just a very old looking dude. And that's why he's called He Who Remains. But then they're going to have to explain what his end game is. So I don't think it's him because I think I think the story will just get a bit too convoluted.
Yeah.
Another outside bet is Doctor Doom. Because Doctor Doom loves a castle. That's my theory behind it. Doctor Doom loves living in a castle. But also as well, Doctor Doom is potentially related to Kang. So that could be reason as well. Loki as Prime. This would confirm Marvel X Transformers project. Maybe Bavik. We'll have words later. Dowdy just watched the so-called promo for episode 6. They are all fan videos. Thought as much. I even know where they got Kang's voice from, the Avengers cartoon, and they used to show Kang Star Trek. Okay, cool. Dowdy's confirmed that it was actually a fan-made video. Thank you, Mr. Cater.
Well, these fan-made videos are getting so convincing these days.
Like, they are. That was a very good video.
It will make you question things.
The power of editing. And my outside bet of who could be in the castle, my totally out there bet, is Red Skull. Just because what happened to him? He was on that planet.
Maybe he escaped. Somehow he escaped.
Yeah. What happened to him after, all the Infinity Gems got destroyed? Had to be doing something in the universe. Why not go and live in a castle in the TVA? And I think he likes a castle as well, from what I recall, the Red Skull. So why not? Have you got any more theories?
Yeah, that's weird that it could actually be our Loki, our Avengers Loki. That's actually there with them. He's actually the puppet master behind everything. Just being himself. That would be the craziest one. Because again, even which we notice, unless there's another Loki who's still watching. But remember on the same planet when
Davie, your signal's breaking up quite a bit.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it better?
Speak.
Yeah, hello. Loki.
Yeah, go carry on.
Avengers. Infinity War.
Yeah, go on.
Loki. Yeah. Remember when the building was collapsing, we were trying to make it onto that ship. And then it literally seemed as if a time stone, like you mentioned, was used. But there was nothing behind that. We didn't see anything else.
Yeah, potentially. Before I'm going to go and see the Black Widow soon, so going to wrap things up. But before we go, are there any other theories you have about who could be in the castle?
what's his name? That would be an interesting one. Oh my, I don't know why that came to my head. Oh my
Gone.
God, what is his name? What's Hulk's name again?
What, Bruce Banner?
No, when he becomes like a super smart old, and he's old in the future. What is it? Maestro? Is it Maestro?
I thought Maestro was somebody else. He's not actually Hulk, is he?
It's Hulk. Which one? What's Hulk's name? That one in the future when he's like super smart and old, and he's like
Oh, I haven't read
taking over.
I haven't read those stories. I'm
I was
looking at
watching
Mr.
it. I was
looking at
looking
Mr. Cato in the
reading
comments.
about it.
But that's a left field choice. Even more left field than my
Well,
Red
yeah,
Skull theory.
he's super smart, and he's just about power and control. That's the one I was reading when he actually, like, he formed an alliance with Doctor Doom in the future,
yeah,
and then literally he betrayed Doom. Doom was going to try and betray him, but he betrayed Doom first and killed Doom, so he could be the sole ruler.
You know, if there's that Doom connection, then it's possible. It's possible. But yeah, we've done an hour. Davey, I'm going to let you say goodbye to the people.
Yes, me and my Messi here is going to say goodbye. I am now going to go and hit the gym because it is now just gone 9 a.m. in the morning here, as we're 6 hours behind. I'm going to hit the gym and then head to the hairdressers and barbers. So no hat next time.
Cool. Well, I think I'm going to go and watch Black Widow. I think that's the plan. I think. Yeah. So see you next week.
Let me know how that. Yeah, let me know how that get on because it's got good reviews from what I've seen.
Yeah,
I've read. They're saying that it's got really good reviews. So
if you can't get to the cinema in Jamaica to watch it, you can actually watch it on Disney Plus for a premium. You can like pay a bit extra and watch it on Disney Plus.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'll probably head to the cinema on Monday.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right then, guys. Well, I can't wait for episode 6 and it all unravels. We find out what was going on. We find out what was right and what was wrong. And you know something? With our theories, I actually think we've been a bit more right than a bit more wrong with this one, which I'm quite pleased about. But yeah, right.
Well,
Take it easy, guys.
It's going to be interesting next week. Yes. So yeah, guys, have a
See
good
you.
one.